All right, so finally I've got some good news, or at least some good developments. So I was proposing again that King David existed in the year 2451 after Adam, or 1386 years before Yeshua. That's what I propose, is when he lived. And when I looked up this period of time in history, it's called the Late Bronze Age Collapse. It is the period of time in the 13th century, 12th century, but it is a period of time where it says that remnants of the Hittites, let me see, it says here that the Middle East was in a state of disarray. Let me just read what it says here. So, so the half century between 1200 to 15, so this is an estimation, but what they noticed in this millennium or century is that it's how the cultural collapse of Mycenaean kingdoms, Kassite dynasty of Babylonia, the Hittite Empire in Anatolia and the Levant, and the Egyptian Empire, the destruction of the Ugarit and Amorite states in the Levant, the fragmentation of the Luwian states of Western Asia, and a period of chaos in Canaan. Is that any surprise? Who was in Canaan? The Kingdom of Israel. According to what I'm saying, the deterioration of these governments interrupted trade routes. So it says here, within a period of 40 to 50 years, at the end of the 13th and the beginning of the 12th century, almost every significant city in the eastern Mediterranean world was destroyed, many of them never to be occupied again. Only a few powerful states, Assyria and Egypt and Elam, survived the Bronze Age collapse. But by the end of the 12th century, Elam waned after its defeat by Nebuchadnezzar. So the way I explain this is that King David and King Solomon, the kings after him, the kingdom of Israel became established as a powerhouse. They became one of the strongest kingdoms in the world. They only collapsed when the kingdom of Israel split into two, and they started to deteriorate. Because if we really believe, and I believe that the kingdom of Israel ultimately became the United Kingdom, America, and they are currently the world power. America is. So they're very militarily skilled. So likewise, it would stand to reason that Israel was likewise had military prowess. So that being so, they most likely were the cause for that Bronze Age collapse. And specifically talking about King David, who, it says he was, according to, King David being born, he would have to be born or anointed as a young kid. So he would actually start ruling in 30 years later, 33 years later, I suppose. Let's see, 1010. A lot of people say he was born in that year, 1043, and then started ruling, 33 years later. So King David ruled for quite a while. So I'm proposing he started 1386, around there. So I'm not sure how long King David lived. I think it was 70, if I'm not mistaken. So if he lived up to 70, that would mean his reign Um, let's see, how long did King David? How long did King David rule? And I should probably ask how long. 40 years, okay. So he ruled for 40, and then his son was another 40, so 80. So that brings us to pretty much 1300, and that explains that. How long was Kingdom of Israel united? I would say united, because once it split, it became a big mess. So people say it was united for 100 years, 120 years. So if we go 120 years from 1386, that brings us to 1160. But I mean, again, it explains the Bronze Age because they were so strong at that point. And then when the kingdoms divided, because the kingdom of Israel eventually like disappeared, became a lot weaker. Uh, so I'm trying to see when the royal houses history here, the early kings. Okay, destruction of the kingdom. Okay, 732. Pekah of Israel allied with. So 720. Okay, so it looks like they started to go down 720-ish. So that's a good 300 years in power, like pretty strong. So if you go 300 years from 1300, like I'm proposing, that brings you to 1086. That's a long time. That means they could be exactly what I was saying, the source of that Bronze Age, destabilization of that region, in the Levant and Canaan. That's very likely. I mean, how much has America had an impact on the planet and Great Britain? So if they are really the descendants of Israel, Judah and Israel, how much more would that kingdom, which was no doubt blessed by Elohim, by Jehovah, with his backing, they had they had his support and his blessing, and people had the fear of Elohim in them, that they weren't anyone to be messed with because they had Elohim on their side, and he gave them the victory in so many battles. That's going to cause destabilization in that part of the world and even throughout that area. So I think that is pretty a solid argument. So it's showing some hints that it was definitely King David in minus three, excuse me, in minus 1386 up to when Kingdom of Israel started to deteriorate around the middle of the, I guess, 11th century, you could call it, BC, towards the end of the 56th sabbatical cycle. So for a good 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for a good 5, 6 sabbatical cycles, they were very strong. That's like 200 years, 250 years, or 300. But they still were a kingdom up to that, even past that, and eventually became like just disappeared, I suppose you could say. Uh, Towards the end, Jeroboam's revolt. Oh, Jeroboam's revolt. Let me see. What kingdom am I looking at right now? Kingdom of Israel. So when the kingdom split, that really was until 720. Yeah, okay. So they're saying here 930 to 720. But for this one, they're saying 1050 to 720. So that's a good 300 and 20 years. So 320 years from King David, the one I'm proposing, the timeline for King David, according to my estimation, is 2451 or 1386. 320, when you subtract that number, you get 1066, which would lead you to the 57th sabbatical cycle and the 5th cycle, or the 4th, I should say, and the 6th year. So that brings you to roughly 2771 after Adam. So that makes sense to me. Like, that's right in the middle of history. It's not too far from, Babylon. Like, it still fits the narrative pretty well. Because I'm going by the Bible's narrative, not making up numbers or anything like that. Because I know a lot of historians just want to prove the Bible wrong. But, try as you may. But again, Yeshua is only 1,000 and something years from that point. And if I were really, let's just do the math like really quick, okay? Let's look at King David. And if I'm proposing he lived 2451, like that's when he was essentially anointed or born, or maybe it was when he was born, I don't know. And Yeshua was born in the year 3834, so minus 3834. So 1383, okay? Let's divide that by 49. 3834. That's the year Yeshua was born. Yeshua. And we take the number that I proposed to for 2451 for the year King David. So if we take all the generations of Yeshua, from King David to Yeshua, we should get a decent number of years that it's still reasonable enough that King David was actually born on the year I'm saying he was, 2451. So we just had to take the number of fathers, the forefathers leading up to Yeshua, and that would give us a rough estimation if it's too large or too small. I mean, if it's too small, that's bad, but if it's too large, it's not a big deal because people lived longer back then. So if I count from Yeshua, okay, Nathan is his son, Mattathiah, Menan, Eliakim, that's 5. Jonam, Joseph, Judah, Simeon, Levi, Mattith, Joram, Eleazar, Joshua, Er, Almodan, Kazam, Hadi. Okay, I lost count. I lost count. I gotta write this down on the notepad. Let's write this down. Okay, let's do a count, like a real count now. So Nathan, Mattithiah, Menan, Eliakim, that's 5. Jonam, Joseph, Judah, Simeon, Levi, that's 5. Mattith, Joram, Eleazar, Joshua, Er, that's 5. Er, Almodan, Kozam, Adi, Malchiah, Nariah, that's 5. Shaltiel, Zerubbabel, Risa, Johanan, Joshua, Joseph, Shimei, Mattithiah, Mattith, Noga, so Noga. Azariah, Nahum, Amos, Mattithiah, Joseph, Jana, Malchiah, Levi, Mattith, Eli, and then Joseph. So that's 1. So if we add all those together, we divide. That is, I can't see the number right now, but that's 10. That is 20. That is 30. That is 41 generations. So if we divide 133 divided by 41, that's 33 years. 33.73. That works out very well. Every father was at least 33 years old when they gave birth to their son. That is not unreasonable, and that's not too young or too old. That's like perfect. I could be right with this King David thing, him being the anointed Messiah, the Prince, or whatever you want to call it. Wow. I mean, the clue is there about the Bronze Age thing, the destabilization of Canaan, and the wiping out of so many countries and peoples in the Levant and Canaan. And then you have this, the year I'm proposing, and you have exactly 41 generations from David to Yeshua. And that's, I'd say 41. It's 3 years between them. Right? And so you divide it by 41, you get 33.7 years per father. So that means if I'm 34 years old, and then I give birth to a son, my son will give birth when he's 34 years old, and so on and so on. But if we're going to go by the narrative that King David was born in 1010, okay, if he was born in 1010, that is the year 2826. Okay, or should I say, because people say he was born in 1040. Oh, okay, let's just say 1043. He was a child. Okay, so that's 2794. So let's look at that potential number, then we have to divide by 41. I don't know if that's going to have a reasonable number, but we'll find out. And then we'll end the video because I've been live streaming all day. I live in the live stream. Yoshua was born 334. So the number is 1040. You divide that by 41. How old is each father? 25. It's still reasonable, but I'm kind of liking mine better, but whatever. It still works too. It still works as well. The average age of a father would be 25 years old in that narrative. But I don't know. Mine just seems more like the Bible narrative where all these forefathers are, giving birth to their kids at like a round age like that. So I'm going to write down the other theory I have that King David was the cause and Israel came succeeding him after him of the Bronze Age and chaos in Canaan because God commanded them to wipe them out, wipe out the nations. I mean, yeah, also there was another character named Joshua. It could be Joshua too. If that doesn't fit the narrative, then maybe it was just Joshua. They were the ones wiping out everybody. I don't know. Could be. Because if you look at this timeline, it says that Joshua was in the year 1337. It could be Joshua wiping everyone out. Very well, could be. Because there is destabilization. Could just be Joshua. I don't know. It's hard to say for sure. And then for the Exodus, some people have different years. This one says 2451, I think. Yeah, 2451. When they, Exodus 2458. So, according to this record, that would be 1379 for the Exodus in this reckoning, which isn't unreasonable either. Just doesn't match up with the famous one is like they want it to be further back, I think. Yeah, 1600s. 16 something BC, but this is more later, and that's fine. So my mind is gone now. So I have exhausted my brain cells. I'm not going to stream for like a week, I think.